Hello everyone, so let's jump right into it. I have often been asked this really strange question that I don't think when you break it down makes any sense until it does. So whenever I tell somebody or I'm explaining my lifestyle to somebody, I would say probably 50% of the time, if I let the conversation go on enough, somebody will inevitably ask me, aren't you afraid of somebody coming up to your car when you're sleeping in it at night and you getting shot? And I think that that's a crazy question because I think with statistics and the numbers, the odds of that happening are just so astronomical that in that sense, no, I'm not afraid of that whatsoever. But people ask me that question so much that I think, like, is that something that I should be afraid of? And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about specifically that question, why I think it's crazy, but also what I think that question is actually asking. So let's break it down. Yeah, so people do ask me that a lot, and maybe if you live in a vehicle, you've had similar experiences. And the reason why I think it's crazy is, like I said, from a statistical standpoint, that just doesn't happen. Statistically, you have a higher chance of being shot if you live in a house than you do if you live in a car, because it's homicide, I suppose, is a crime of opportunity, and people break into houses knowing that there might be an altercation. When somebody's breaking into a car, they're usually just trying to steal a stereo or something like that. So once they know that somebody's in the car, there's a lower chance of them shooting you or even having a gun in that scenario, just because that possibility isn't in the person's head. So that's why I don't necessarily think that question makes sense when I'm looking at it from a statistical standpoint. But when I start to think about what I'm doing metaphorically in society by living in a car and living outside the norms of society, that question, are you afraid of getting shot at night, actually isn't that stupid of a question, and I'm going to explain why right now. And to do that, we have to accept a couple things here. And the first is that by choosing to live in a vehicle, you are living outside the norm of society, and I think that that's true. I know that van life has been kind of a thing that's been happening lately, but I still don't think that it's mainstream enough for people to fully accept it. I don't think that it's permeated the culture, I guess I should say. And so when people ask that question, I feel like they're asking it not necessarily even in a statistical way. They're asking it in a metaphorical way, and that's what I gather from that question. So what I mean by that is, in history, the people who have chosen to live outside the walls of the kingdom, for example, outside the norm of the culture, outside of it, are in more danger, either from neighboring tribes or animals or not having access to health, those kinds of threats. Society as a whole, playing in with the norm of society, actually keeps you safe. It's an adaptive mechanism for life, for thriving. So the people who choose to live outside of that in history have been at a higher risk of death, for use of the proper word. Like if back in old times, if there was a kingdom and you chose to live outside of it, you were an outsider, and that wasn't necessarily good for you. But I'm going to get to how it's good later. But I think that's the frame of reference that people are using when they ask me that question. I don't think they're literally asking, like, are you afraid of that? I think that the idea of being shot at night with a gun is like, it's a total projection, because I think it's the scariest thing that somebody could think up, is that you think you're safe, and then all of a sudden, the bad person is there with the thing that can kill you at night when it's dark. I just feel like it's like an amalgam of the worst possible scenario, I think, is what people are projecting onto something because they don't understand it. They don't understand what it's like to live outside of the norm of society. Like, they don't understand this lifestyle. So I think that they project that. I think that's why that specific question comes up, and I think that's why it's phrased in that particular way. It's like they don't say a knife. They don't ask, aren't you afraid of a bear coming? Like, they're in Montana they do, though, which is interesting. They're saying, aren't you afraid of a bear? And I think that's interesting because that is like an actual threat in Montana. But when I'm in LA, they ask about a gun. But ultimately, to me, it's the exact same question. It's, aren't you afraid of the unknown threat coming and getting you because you live outside the walls of the kingdom? That's really what I think that question is. And that's why I don't really feel bad when people ask me that question, and I try not to think too much, and I try not to think like, oh my god, so many people are asking me that. Is this something I should be worried about? And the answer is yes and no. It's no because no, I don't think that you should be afraid of somebody with a gun shooting you randomly in the middle of the night because you're sleeping in your car. I just don't think that that makes any sense whatsoever. However, I do think that you need to be aware of the fact that you are choosing to live outside the norm of society, and living outside the norm of society puts you in a place where you are at a different, you experience danger in a different way, I guess is how I can describe it. I don't think that it's significant, first of all. Secondly, I think that's what I just want to say about that. I don't think that it's significant, the level of danger that you're experiencing, other than perhaps physical danger, I should say. Physical danger, I don't think that it's a significantly higher level of threat. Socially, I think that it is. And I think that there are definitely some social stigmas that you have to overcome when you choose to live this lifestyle. And I think it can be, if you're the wrong person, to your detriment if you aren't capable of bringing yourself forthright into the world with an understanding of exactly what you're doing by living like this. That's what I think about that. So, all of that, I think, is to say that when people ask me that question, what I think they're really asking me is, do you feel vulnerable to the things that society has constructed in order to protect you from? That's what I think that question is really asking me. And when it comes to that question, the answer is not so much when it comes to physical threat and physical harm, and moderately when it comes to social stigma. That's the way that I would wrap my answer and give to you. So, that is that. That's what I wanted to talk about today. I know that was kind of I don't even know how to describe it. But I'm serving up something that I find really interesting, and that's really the only reason why I'm talking about it. This isn't like my normal content, but it's just something that's been on my mind, and I wanted to put it into words the best way that I can right now. So, if you have anything to say about that, please post in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on that matter. And other than that, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and have a good day.